Well, hello and welcome to the kitchen of the dollhouse for another reading from The Secret Language of Birthdays by Gary Goldschneider and you Stelfers. And what are we cooking up tonight? Well, a reading of September 23rd birthday, the day of the breakthrough. That's right. And here at the top of the page is a visual representation of the day of the breakthrough. Oh, we've got Metamorphosis of the Frog. That's right. The tadpole. And then the stage before it's a full frog. I don't know which one that one is. Who's to say the frog with the tail still? That's right. They often forget about the frog with the tail still. That's right. In the event, hey, that's not important necessarily. Hey, maybe we'll make some connotations here in the read later as to why they chose that image, but not necessarily. No, what's important is it's September 23rd and it's somebody's birthday today. That's right. And so with that, I just want to say, happy birthday. That's what's important. That's why we're here tonight, to wish you a happy birthday. And maybe this video finds you a little long or short after the day has already passed. And if it does, I hope you had a happy birthday. That's right. But for everyone else who's just dropping by randomly, or more ideally to celebrate September 23rd birthday, well, I just want to say hello and welcome. And I hope you enjoy yourself. Now, before we dive in with the birthday redirect, let's roll some dice. That's what we like to do around these here parts, is live up to the namesake. This is the DykASSt ASStro birthday reading, so let's roll some dice. We also do it, for synchronicity's sake. We rolled us some doubles. It doesn't happen all that often, so you can go straight to jail. That's right. A 4 and a 4, 4 and 8. That's right. Hey, now what is synchronicity? Some of you might be wondering. Well, it's just you getting out into the world and let the universe show you it's with you on your path. Maybe you hit up the town square because there's nothing else going on your birthday. And what do you do in the town square? Well, you just decide on a direction to go. Maybe you roll your own dice and ascribe some directions to some number values. And you chase that direction and you look for your numbers. You keep on the lookout for them. And when you see them, well, you chase after them. That's right. You chase after them with a hunger. And maybe it's on a car. Maybe it's plastered on the hood of a car. The number 4, the number 8, or double 4, or, who's to say? And maybe the car gets out of sight after a couple minutes. Well, that's okay. Now you just take some time, collect yourself, and wait for another sign. And it doesn't necessarily always have to be some numbers. It could be somebody that's walking by and they just stand out. Hey, chase them down. That's right. It's not necessarily in a stalkerish way. Just follow them for a bit. Roll your dice and find out how long to follow them for. And you know what? Maybe they walk past a store with a 44 in the address. Hey, go on in. And what's it turn out to be? Well, it's a pet shop and they sell amphibians. Yeah, it could be. Could be. The universe might just set up a theme for you. It doesn't have to be big, grandiose gestures. Sometimes just small little things. And maybe the person in the amphibian store rather, says, hey, what are you doing here? What can I help you with? You need any tailed frogs? And you go, no, I don't necessarily. I'm just here for synchronicity. And they go, excuse me? Maybe you show them this video and they completely understand. And since nobody else is buying amphibians either, well, maybe they close up shop and they join you. That's right. And you just made a friend. So it could be that that's what was meant to happen. That's right. And you wouldn't have got out there and made a friend if you hadn't followed your numbers. That's right. Because who's going into amphibian shops these days? Not many people. In any event, hey, that's synchronicity as far as I understand it. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But if you're interested, chase it down yourself. Go down the rabbit hole. So let's dive in with your birthday. That's right. Enough on synchronicity. Your month is September. Your day the 23rd. And your sign is 29 degrees Virgo to 1 degree Libra of the Virgo Libra Cusp period. And your quality and element is Cardinal air. That's right. All right, September 23rd, the day of the breakthrough. A recurring theme in the lives of September 23 people is that of breaking through restrictions. The expansive individuals born on this day are not free to develop and unfold their personalities until they have struggled with and overcome either physical or formal difficulties. That's formal difficulties if I lost some breath to it. And this struggle is usually extremely intense, and in fact goes on even after successive breakthroughs. And indeed, life for those born on this day is a series of ongoing challenges which must each be met and conquered. And in this respect, September 23 people may well be described as spiritual warriors. And the more highly evolved of September 23 people use the fruits of their struggle to benefit all those around them, if only as a living symbol of determination to overcome adversity. Less highly evolved individuals born on this day may get bogged down in personal conflicts, often a result of their substantial egos, it says in parentheticals, in which they succeed in stirring up a lot of trouble but not necessarily yielding positive results. It would be advantageous for them to retire for a while from life's fray, get their heads screwed on straight, and put their considerable energy at the service of a worthwhile cause. September 23 people are capable of moving mountains, yet there are times when they sink into depressions or low energy periods where they can't seem to summon the feeblest of energy. And certainly there is nothing lazy or slack about those born on this day. It is just that they can't fake enthusiasm, and when they don't feel inspired, would rather do nothing at all than produce a shoddy work. And September 23 people are drawn to happenings of all sorts. Whether they are mentally, emotionally, or physically oriented, they are action people, for whom words are only a means to an end. As a matter of course, most September 23 people are not particularly verbal and communicate what they have to say directly, sometimes with no words at all. And for those who do possess the gift of speech, theirs is an elegantly simple, precise, and economical style, carrying less excess verbiage. Those born in this day can be extremely seductive and charming, though they may appear forbidding or aloof on first meeting. Others should not, however, make the mistake of thinking that September 23 charm is an invitation to get personally involved, particularly on a sexual level. For the most part, September 23 people put their work first and pleasure second. And despite any image they might project, their real friends are very few and they do not value a small talk. Often it is better to admire them from a distance than to force an approach. On the other hand, September 23 people themselves should beware of isolating themselves at a deep emotional level and concentrating on universal or worldly concerns to the exclusion of personal matters. In this, they may be neglecting the trees for the forest. All right. How about that for a birthday breakdown? I say they made you a pretty dynamic individual based on whatever sources of information they come from. I don't know. In any event, hey, I like to dive in with some notes in between the sections of the birthdays, so let's get to it, see what I had to say here. The theme of breaking through restrictions takes a recurring theme, to the extent going through as much as what allows their personality to develop into its more evolved form. All right, it's an interesting idea, and maybe I reckon anyone's personality is affected by life. That's why I wrote that, with struggles specifically, which shape and reveal people's character, at least by my mind. But I'd argue a personality is always there. So to say that they don't necessarily have one until they go through these struggles, I don't know. But regardless, maybe with folks born on this day, it's just markedly different, all right, in that realization of as much. Also possible you have to be a September 23 person to fundamentally understand this dynamic that they're trying to espouse here. So possibly. I got my mind open to it, but just saying, like, it seems like everybody's got a personality, regardless the struggle. I think you get it. But the read describes you as spiritual warriors, let's say, in this regard, considering it's a constant process and correlate a seeming struggle that can make things difficult and contribute to your evolution also. You know what? They don't necessarily give nicknames to folks all that often, and certainly not ones that prestigious. So spiritual warrior it is. Yeah, just take note of that. What else we got here? But it all apparently translates to great capacities and service to others in some cases, even if part of the process finds you sinking into a depression, which requires you to take time away and to rally from, which is key in my mind. All right, it's important to take time. But I say to push to test, okay? Depression can take over all too easily. So maybe give it its said time, all right? Don't fight it just because it's there. Let it have its time, and then effort to put it away. Put it back in its drawer, and maybe I'll get on with your life a little bit. And then, do it all over again. Give it its time. And when it tries to creep back up, be like, hey, man, I gave you your time, and you're going to get it again. So give me my time. That's right. That's what I had to say. Whether that works or not, who's to say? But it's worth trying in earnest, I think. Letting it have its time. All right. Now, it doesn't necessarily let you set terms in that way on most cases, but I think it's good to try. All right. So, but it could be the work over personal pleasure dynamic is causing some of it in the first place. All right. So try it in earnest and maybe put some of that work aside for a little bit. It might just be the stress of that, because it said you put work before pleasure, and maybe that's causing a little bit of it, if that wasn't clear that I wrote down in the notes there. That being said, hey, let's move on to your numbers and your planets. All right, those born on the 23rd of the month are ruled by the number 5, as 2 + 3 = 5, and by the planet Mercury, the speedy planet Mercury. And Mercury represents quickness of thought, communication, and change. And because the cusp of the fall equinox is influenced by both Mercury, which is Virgo, and Venus, which is Libra, creativity, idealism, and charm are enhanced in September 23 people. Like many ruled by the number 5, they may find, however, that they are likely to both overreact mentally and to change their minds and physical surroundings with great regularity. Fortunately, whatever hard knocks number 5 people may receive in life generally have little lasting effect on them. They recover quickly. And the number 23 is often associated with happening. And for September 23 people, this further enhances their active and mercurial side. All right. Hey, what I have to say about your numbers and your planets? They personalized this one for you a little bit, and they dove into a little bit of numerology. They don't do that all too often, except for mentioning your number. That said, let's get into the notes again. The number 5 in the speedy planet Mercury for quickness of thought, change, and it says communication, though it would seem that's not necessarily a huge factor, at least from what we derived in the breakdown there. Who's to say? But it did say you communicate sometimes with just a look, right? Maybe that's what they mean. There's power in that. There's power in silence, too. A certain dictator who shall be remain nameless, advanced, from what I recall. But Venus's influence from Libra would seem to be what the creativity, idealism, and charm might be derived from. So it's a good thing you got that cusp rulership going on. And they don't often dive into numerology, as I said, or provide context when they do, as here they didn't really do as much. But the number 5 and 23 were brought up. So maybe there's a look, maybe take a look, rather, into that particular field of study, if looking to expand your horizons into the metaphysical is something you're interested in. May be worth a look. They did mention it here. But as I said, they don't really dive into numerology too much in the book, so I can't really provide any kind of commentary in that regard. All right, hey, that's your numbers and planets. Let's dive in with your tarot. That's right, the tarot, one of the more eclectic, new agey metaphysical ideologies, if you like. But it's here in the book. It's fun to expand our horizons, even if we don't want to believe in it. So let's see what it has to say. All right. The 5th card of the major arcana is the Hierophant, an interpreter of sacred mysteries who is symbolic of human understanding and faith. And his knowledge is esoteric, and he has authority over things unseen. Favorable traits conferred by this card are self-assuredness and insight. Unfavorable traits include moralizing, bombast, and dogmatism. All right, a little bit of a copy-paste job here today with the tarot. They didn't really dive into how it relates with the breakdown and such. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. So that's why I'm here, to pick up the weight, I suppose. Not that I'm going to really put anything into it either. All right, let's get on with it. The Hierophant, the interpreter of sacred mysteries and symbolic of faith and understanding. All right, so a priest as is an apothecary to a pharmacy. All right, just a different word, the Hierophant. Self-assurance and insight are conferred, and I'd say it lines up with the breakdown quite a bit in that regard. And if you often experience hard knocks especially, just don't lean in too hard on what you think you know from said experience. That's my advice, lest you come in with the moralizing and the bombast. That's right. But it's said you're reserved in your communication, so it might not be an issue. Just don't get carried away. Some folks don't want to hear it. You gotta find that way of being diplomatic. But if you're secretive and quiet, they might get a little bit interested. And you got that charm, they said. So maybe then you can get on with expounding your ideas there. For other people's benefit, it sounds like, too. It said you're also, what do you call it? The living symbol. Yeah, all right. Enough on the tarot. Let's dive in with your health. All right, your health. Those born on September 23 must be careful with alcohol consumption and the ingestion of drugs, including nicotine and caffeine in general. And those born on this day are particularly prone to abusing such substances during periods of depression. It is possible that macrobiotic, vegetarian, and ovo-lacto or fruitarian diets and fasting can be helpful in purifying the body for brief or extended periods of time. Physical exercise here stimulates appetites and improves circulation. And September 23 people must beware of liver, kidney, stomach, and intestinal damage from diet or a bodily abuse. All right, hey, there's your health. I'll tell you what, they said bodily abuse and diet. Well, they gave you a bunch of diets that might contribute to that, it would seem, for an ironic twist there. Any event, hey, let's dive in with the notes on your health. Drugs should be avoided for you extending all the way down to caffeine and nicotine. All right, the staples of society, I would argue. So that kind of sucks. But hey, they might have a bad effect on you, just the same way you interpret the whole idea of breaking through isn't necessarily something other people see. I think it was breaking through. In any event, what else did I have to say here? Abuse of as much apparently finds you during depression. So depression might take a pretty heavy toll on you. So trying to put it back in a drawer might be a real heck of an ask. I don't know. But that's a new one in the book by my memory. And also the ovo-lacto, that's a new one. I had to look it up. And it's a vegetarian who allows some animal products like eggs and such. What else we got here? But get your exercise to battle that depression in, all right? And avoid the abuse. That's right. They don't say abuse too often either. So take note. All right, that's been your health. Let's dive in with some advice. All right, you already got quite a bit, but hey, let's get in further. It will be most important for you to make use of your downtime, all right? During such periods, you can get in touch with what is working and what holds you back, all right? Ready yourself for life's battles beforehand. Being prepared is the key. All right, hey, really quick advice there, but I would say it had some value. And it also wasn't necessarily a repeat of other things they've said, so that's a plus. All right, practice some mindfulness is what I had to say. It sounds like one of your biggest obstacles may be yourself. Hey, it is with all of us, right? I would argue. Maybe not for everybody. All of us is pretty generic, but get out of your own way, it sounds like, all right? Endeavor to find your own form of self-evolution. And the path should be, what did I say here? And the path should be noteworthy if you find it for yourself, right? And it's especially considering the cause. It's for your own self-evolution. So the path, it should be considerable. All right. With that being said, for your advice, let's dive in and take the energy down just a hair for your meditation. All right, your meditation. Generally, we don't figure out what's wrong with us when we are feeling well. Ooh, I like that one. Let's do one more time here. Generally, we don't figure out what's going on with us when we are feeling well. All right. I tend to try and avoid saying anything about the meditation because I don't want to shape it for you. And so I'm not going to, but I think that's huge. I think that's a great one. Generally, we don't figure out what's wrong with us when we're feeling well. All right. Hey, there's your meditation. Let's dive in. Your strengths and your weaknesses. All right. As if we needed a little bit of reinforcement of those things. All right. Your strengths, you're creative, adventuresome, and you're exciting. Oh, they left charm out of there. They left out charming. All right. And your weaknesses. Are you ready? Hold your breath. Your weaknesses, you're troubled, depressive, and addictive. Ooh, addictive. That's why they were talking about all the drugs there. Hey, well, those are all things that you can rally around or rally yourself from. Or rather, any event. Yeah. Great. You know what? Sometimes the weaknesses is stuff we can't avoid. But maybe you can't. I don't know. I would argue you can. Anyway, hey, those have been your strengths and weaknesses. And now let's move on to those born on this day. And when we get into those born on this day, I like to take the opportunity to broach something I find important, and that's finding your passion. That's right. I meet a lot of folks out in the world, and I have been around the world a little bit, so I guess I could say that. But get out there and meet folks in life, out in the wild if you like, and ask them what they do, and more importantly, if they like it. And a lot of times they don't. It's just, but can you blame them? You know, you get out of school, you got to find a job to provide security for a family you may or may not have. You got to put food on the table, pay the rent, and then you got to change those bed sheets on the weekend, as I often like to say. So there's just no time to drill down and do the work that's required to figure out your passion in a lot of cases. And even if you know your passion, you got to figure out how to make it make money for you so that you get out of bed and you backflip into the day ready to get on with it. A lot of folks don't have that. And so I figured by finding out who shares your company, who was born on this day also, and what they did to not only get in the book, but contribute to the cultural zeitgeist, if you like, well, that might be just the form of inspiration you need to, I don't know, maybe expand your horizons into things. So at the very least, you can find out what lottery you drew and see who also shares your company. All right, let's get on with it. Those born on this day. We've got John William Coltrane, jazz giant, tenor, soprano, saxophonist, and a composer. We also have Gaius Octavius Augustus Caesar, the first Roman emperor, and he defied high point of Roman culture and law. We also have Bruce Springsteen, the boss. He's a rock superstar, singer-songwriter, and a guitarist. Ray Charles, the singer-songwriter, pianist, and a saxophonist, apparently. I didn't know that. Victoria Woodhull, a broker, publisher, feminist, and ran for U.S. president in 1872 and lived to age 89. How about that? Ran for president in 1872. I didn't know that. Julio Iglesias, a Spanish singer-songwriter and former professional soccer player. Man, they're just rife with the facts today. Aldo Moro, an Italian premier, kidnapped, murdered by the Red Brigade. Wow. Armand Hippolyte, French physicist and first to measure the speed of light. Man, today's just blowing my hair back, figuratively. Suzanne Valadon, Paris artist, model, and painter. Mickey Rooney, film, TV actor. Romy Schneider, a Viennese film actress. We got Frank Kupka, was a Czech-French abstract painter. Frank Foster, jazz tenor, saxophonist, arranger, and a composer. We also have a Walter Pidgeon, a film actor. Eleanor Roosevelt, son of FDR and an author, or Elliot Roosevelt, rather, son of FDR and author. Walter Lippmann, a writer and presidential advisor. Alan Villiers, Australian sailor, writer of Sons of Sinbad, and Paul Duval, Belgian surrealist painter. Oh, we got two more. Robert Bryan Clark, an astrologer, and Michael J. Boskin, an economist. Hey, the latter part, they didn't really blow our hair back so much, but you know what? They certainly made up for that in kind with the former part. In any event, that's been those born on this day. Hopefully you took a little bit of inspiration. And if you didn't, hey, at least you found out who else shares your birthday. And with that, I'd say we've rounded out your birthday reading, except to say your season is fall. It's the first season. It begins with the first day in the season of fall. Your sign is Libra, the first Libra, and your Virgo Libra cusp period, and your quality and element is Cardinal air. And that has been the September 23rd birthday reading, the day of the breakthrough, from The Secret Language of Birthdays by Gary Goldschneider and Joost Elfers. I have an affiliate link for this book down in the description if you need yourself a figurative or a literal icebreaker, considering the girth of this book, for them parties you might have. Even though you won't be the one that's the most vocal, you can throw this out there on that coffee table and get the conversation started, for better or for worse. Either way, it's going to get the conversation flowing and get that party started off, hopefully, on a good foot. But now that that's out of the way, that's what's really important here is that we're wishing you a happy birthday. That's right. That's why we're here, to wish you a happy birthday. And like I said, if this finds you late, hope you had a happy birthday. For everyone else that joined us to celebrate September 23rd birthday, I hope you enjoyed yourself, found it interesting, and you join us for your birthday. All right. And lest we forget your daily numbers. That's right. A 4 and a 4 for an 8. Get out there. Let the universe show you it's with you on your path. And at the very least, you can get your steps in. Some of that non-abusive exercise. All right. Find you some frogs with tails and all of that happy good stuff. All right. Once again, happy birthday, folks. Take care of yourself.